I declare the meeting open and welcome you to this month's meeting of Council. The recording of this Council meeting will be available to the public on Council's website for the minimum period of 6 months. In accordance with Council policy, I will now ask Council staff to confirm that the recording has commenced.
Yes, it has, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Malacadee people, the traditional custodians of this land. We pay respect to them, their customs, to their elders, past, present and emerging. Attendance. Councillors, we have in the chambers tonight Deputy Mayor Clark, we have Councillor Prince, and we have Councillor O'May. We have Councillor Newell on Teams, yep, and we have Councillor Lovell dialing in. Is that correct? Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Council officers, to you.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. So we have the Director of Legal and Governance Services, Matthew Grimsey, Director of Corporate Services, David Spinks, Director of Community Services, Rebecca Stevenson, Director of Infrastructure Services and Acting Director of Environment and Development Services, Lachlan Krantz, and Executive Assistant Sandy Rustle, TC Officer Michael Glazer.
Thank you. Do we have any apologies? No. Leave of absence? No. And absent? No. Do we have any declarations of interest on the agenda tonight? No? Our two online, do we have any conflict of interest?
No, thank you, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. 4, confirmation of minutes. 4.004/22. Do I have a councillor to move the minutes as circulated to be confirmed for the ordinary meeting of Council on Wednesday the 30th of March 2022? Councillor O'May, seconded by Councillor Clark. Does any councillor wish to report any changes? No. I'll put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand if you're in the chamber. That is Councillor Prince, O'May, Clark and Doyle. And, yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. General Manager, are there any legislative items?
No, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any urgent matters?
No, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. General Manager, do you have any announcements?
I do, Acting Mayor. I have two. The first one, as some people would already be aware, on Sunday the 3rd of April, Paul Gibson and Christine Campbell advised me separately of their resignations from the offices as Council of the Huon Valley Council, effective immediately. And I've advised the Tasmanian Electoral Commission and the Director of Local Government of receipt of their letters of resignation. And in accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, the casual vacancies for the role of councillor created by the resignations will also remain in place until the certificate of election has been issued for the council elections due to be held in October 2022. And a second one, reflecting on the recent feedback from the community and our councillors surrounding the draft Huon Valley local provisions schedule and the upcoming 30 April 2022 deadline for feedback from the community. We wrote to the Tasmanian Planning Commission late last week seeking a second extension on the date of our planning authority can submit to the Commission on community representations on the draft of the LPS. And the good news is today we received advice that the Commission has granted a further 30-day extension and will allow us to receive submissions from the community up until the 31st of May 2022. So we'll this week prepare letters to our property owners notifying them of the submissions on the draft Huon Valley LPS are due to us by the 31st of May 2022. So
Thank you. That's all?
That's
Yep.
it, just the two.
Okay, do any councillors have any announcements they wish to make? No? Any from you guys online?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Well, I do. I would like to thank Councillor Campbell and Councillor Gibson for their time on council. I worked on many a committee with both of them, and and enjoyed the time that we had. So I thank them for that. I'd like to also make an announcement about Anzac Day and the community feedback that we received concerning the fact that there was no dawn service in Yountville. I'd just like to put a thank you out there to community services and to David's front of house staff that received a lot of feedback, which was unnecessary. And Anzac Day is about respect, and I think people forgot that because it got totally out of hand. So can you two directors please pass on the fact that we do appreciate the fact of what happened, and that I'm pretty sure that the police have been informed, and and we'll just let that take its course. I've also got a correction that I'd like to make, and it's a correction to former Councillor Campbell's assertion that I was previously advised as a recruitment panel member of the relationship of the consultant Jason Brown on the 24th of May 2021. This is not correct, and I have provided another statutory declaration to the Code of Conduct clarifying this. This date was not referred to in either the Edge Legal or the Tas Audit Office reports as a date of significance. It is my understanding this was an internal date, working date for Red Giant. I've had no contact with the consultant regarding applicants until July 2021. So the letter dated the 4th of April from Pat Sins and Brian Miller that stated that I lied by admission is totally untrue. And I find it a tad offensive. So, okay, so moving on from announcements, I'll go to number 8, public participation, public question time. As of the 22nd of April 2022, questions received in writing by noon on council meeting days are continued to be treated as questions without notice. Questions to previous questions taken on notice, questions on notice along with questions received before 12 noon today will be published on council's website and included in the minutes of the council meeting. They will no longer be read out during the meeting. 8.1.1, answers to previous questions taken on notice. There was 2 questions taken on notice from the March 30th council meeting. One from Dr. Liz Smith regarding council workshops, and from Mr. Archie Donnelly regarding the General Manager's monthly operating report noting staff new arrivals and departures. These questions and responses can be found on the council's website. 8.1.2, questions on notice. There was no questions given on notice. 8.1.3, questions without notice. Questions received via email before 12 noon today. There were 25 questions received, and a summary is as follows. 23 questions were regarding the local provisions schedule, and they were submitted by... Beg your pardon?
Sorry, I just said I'm having a lot of trouble hearing. The sound's just completely muffled. I can't understand anything.
Is it? Okay. Okay. There were, 23 questions. I'm sorry, Mick, there's not much I can do about that, sorry. They were submitted by Mr Jeffrey Swan, Daho He, Mr Alan Baldry, Mr Gray Barnett, Ms Murdoch, Ms Dean, Dan C, Mr and Mrs Bishop, Ms Robertson, Mr Blackstone, Ms Mee, Mr Elcock, Ms Yaxley, Mr Garth and Ms Green. Then Mrs Gill regarding the General Manager's response to a question taken on notice from last month's meeting, and Ms Campbell's regarding a staff survey. As already mentioned, these questions and responses can be found on Council's website and will be included in the minutes of the Council meeting. To those community members joining us in the gallery tonight, we would like to ask a question. If you have a question, as the Chair, I will ask you to come forward to the microphone and identify yourself by name and area where you live. To make things fair and equitable, we have a limit of 2 questions per person. If you can please ask your first question, and then we'll go to the others in the gallery before returning for your second question if time permits. We normally allocate 15 minutes for question time. All questions must be directed to the chairperson, and I will answer the question or refer the question to another councillor or general manager. Every attempt will be made to provide an answer to your question. Debates on questions cannot be entered into. The council cannot make decisions on issues that arise in public question time. Is there anyone who would like to come forward and ask a question? Yes?
Archie Donnelly from Signet on behalf of Fitzhugh Council. The previous mayor gave an undertaking on behalf of the council to publish the time on the 4th of July 2014 that the recruitment panel was informed by email of the successful final 14 candidates for the role of general manager. That undertaking was never honoured by the mayor. I asked the acting mayor, who was on the recruitment panel at the time, to honour the commitment that was given by the mayor, that was freely given in public, to inform the gallery what was that time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr Donnelly. I think that I will take that on notice. My first reaction was to say no, but I will take it on notice. Do we have somebody else that would like to? Yes, Dr. Smith.
Liz Smith, Signet, question to the Acting Mayor. Last month, I asked for a summary of the information raised in the Council workshop in February that included discussion led by the Director of Local Government on the opportunity for councillors and staff to work in a more constructive way going forward. The question was taken on notice, and the response in this month's agenda is that the Director of Local Government has advised that no specific details need to be provided, so no further information will be given. It seems that the actions resulting from council workshops, including the way in which councillors and staff can work together more constructively, are relevant to most of council's operations, and there does not appear to be a need to keep the topics discussed in the workshop secret. So my first question is, does the response above mean that workshops are now in the same category as closed council, and that nothing discussed in workshops can be made public unless it is directly relevant to a single council decision? I'll
answer that one, so if you'd like to take a seat, and then I will take your second one if we have time. I was the one that gained that information, Dr. Smith, about council workshops, and we are not obligated to give out any more information that's already noted in the General Manager's report on workshops. So, no, we will not
That's
be.
better.
Thank you. We will not be giving out any more information on workshops. Okay, do we have any other questions? No? Okay, Dr. Smith, do you want to come back up for your second one? Sorry.
Yes, I guess this is because I was wondering whether it was just that particular workshop that was not to be made public. And so my second question is, will a list of the topics to be discussed in future council workshops be available to the public? And if so, under what circumstances?
Thank you, Dr. Smith. As I stated before, the information that we pop in the General Manager's operational report concerning workshops is the most that we're... we might have to get Sandy to stay down there. So, yeah, so no, we will not be giving out any more information on workshops. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We might just halt for a moment. Hey, can you hear us now?
Yep, got you back again.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
got you back again, Sally.
Okay, thank you. 8.2, deputation addresses to council. Neil? 9, petitions. Neil? Oh, we got one. Yep, sorry. 9.004/22, petition to request the reduced Pilverada Road speed limit. I refer council to the recommendation of the report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. Councillor Prince, would you wish to speak to this motion?
No, look, it's. I think a community are always the people that know whether a road speed is safe or unsafe. So well done to the community of Pilverada for coming forward on this one.
Thank you. Is there a councillor to speak against the motion? No? Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Councillor Clark.
Acting Mayor. Thank you. I just was reading the recommendation that in anticipation of supporting the speed limit reduction, a request to the Commissioner of Transport, a speed limit review must be undertaken. And my question is, does council take that review or does it go directly to the Commissioner of Transport?
Can I put that one through to you, to Lachlan? Yeah, through the Director.
Through you, Mayor, Acting Mayor, sorry. Councillor Clark, Council does that review, undertakes that review in order to support our application to the Director of Transport. And we have aligned the elements of that review to meet their requirements. So we'll put that together, submit it to them, tick all the boxes that are required of us, so that the Director can make a determination.
Thank you, Director. Thank you.
Okay. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. That is Councillor Clark, Councillor Prince and Councillor O'May and Councillor Doyle. And online we have?
Yes,
Four,
Mayor.
Mayor.
That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Okay. Council is now acting as a planning authority. In accordance, yes, at. Okay, in accordance, in accordance with the provisions of Part 2 Regulations 25 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, the Council will now act as a planning authority pursuant to the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act 1993. In accordance with Regulation 25, the Council will act as a planning authority in respect of those matters appearing under item 10 on this agenda, inclusive of any supplementary items. Okay. Planning application DA 10.10-2022, multiple dwellings, one existing, one new, at 58 Knights Road, Yournville, CT 17889-2/24, agenda number 10.004/22. I refer councillors to the recommendation in this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Clark. And a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Clark, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just would like to say that I've read that report and I note that there were several representations, but obviously those have all been satisfied within the report. There were privacy issues, multiple dwelling issues, and yes, and I note that particular property was previously a multiple dwelling property. So I see no reason to not approve this planning application. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any councillors to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? Anyone got any questions? I only have the one, if I may, through the director. The upper deck. One of the questions was the upper level deck overlooking adjoining properties, but I noticed there that there's some screening and so forth going on there, so that all will make that not quite as obvious. So yeah.
That's correct. That's the condition to address that privacy issue from the upper deck.
Yep, lovely. All right, thank you very much. Apart from that, I'm with Councillor Clark. I have no other issues. So as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. And that is Councillor Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. And
Yes,
online?
Mayor.
For Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Okay. Agenda item number 10.005/22, planning application DA 292-2021, single dwelling and outbuilding supporting development of a lavender farm at 364 Mountain River Road, Mountain River, CT-182622-1. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lovell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Clark. Councillor Lovell, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Just briefly, I note the representations that were sent in, but I really think they've been covered thoroughly. So that was my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Prince.
Yes, Mayor, through you. If I could have some clarity provided around, there was some concern in the representations about a roadside stall. If I could have some clarity on that, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, if we could do that through you, Director.
Through you, Acting Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Prince. The roadside stall was part of the farm management plan, which the farm management itself is not accessible. The assessment was against the buildings. The farm management plan is there in support of the application for the buildings, demonstrating why it needs to be there. The farm management plan included the roadside stall and the roadside stall was inadvertently included on the site plan. Council had that removed so that it's not on the approved site plan. So it does not feature, it's not part of the assessment, it doesn't exist, and it would be subject to any further development of the farm if they go down that path. So it would have its own assessment process.
Okay, any other questions? I have just one, if I may, through you, General Manager, to the Director. Concerning dams, there seems to be a bit of confusion sometimes in the community about dams and who's responsible for them and when they do fall under council. Could you explain a little bit there for me, please?
Yep, through you, Acting Mayor. Dams are considered works and can be accessible. When they're on a farm, they're exempt because they're for that farm operation. So this is in significant agricultural land. Therefore, they're exempt from a planning assessment point of view. They do have their own specific assessment process via DPIPWI, so the Department of Natural Resources and Environment Tasmania, but not from us, the Planning Authority. So that assessment by DPIPWI comes under what's called Division 4, a dam works permit, and is triggered by there are size thresholds. So if the applicant goes ahead and wants to construct a dam and they trigger those thresholds, then it would be accessible against DPIPWI's criteria, but not by the Planning Authority, by Council.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So I have no other questions. So as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in the gallery in favour, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, Prince, O'May and Doyle. And online?
Yes, Mayor.
For, Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. The acting mayor will advise the council is no longer acting as a planning authority at General reports. General reports and minutes are presented in relation to the following matters: the General Manager's operational report, the former Mayor's Ender's activity, Acting Mayor Doyle's activities, Human Resources quarterly update, quick grant application list, Arts and Culture Committee meeting, Marine Facilities Advisory Committee minutes, Emergency Management Committee meeting minutes, and STCA quarterly report. And any councillors tabling their activities, and I have Councillor Lovells here and Councillor or Acting Deputy Mayor Clark's activities there. Thank you.
Could I just, through you, Acting Mayor, just mention,
would you like to speak to that?
when I pass that over, that I met today with, one of the things that I did, I met today with Liberal senators and their staff at the Huonville Childcare Centre and with the Director of Community Services regarding the redevelopment of the children's services. We're seeking the federal government support on for funding on that, and I want to thank the Director, Beck Stevenson, for her work that she's done on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Councillor Lovell, do you want to speak on your activities?
No, that's fine, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I refer councillors to the recommendations of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general report, and minutes for the period 1st to the 31st of March 2022 be received and noted? Councillor Prince, seconded by Councillor O'May. Councillor Prince, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Only very briefly, Mayor, and to say that I've been trying to meet with the General Manager on a fairly regular basis, and to his credit, we have these meetings quite early in Huonville, so well done for being down here working well before I think most people are up and about, so thank you, I appreciate that.
Is there a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions on any of those? No? As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. And online?
For, Mayor.
Yes, Mayor.
That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. 12, councillor workshops. General Manager, would you like to read out the workshops that councillors have attended?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So the first is the 31st of March 2022. Director of Corporate Services led a discussion regarding the second draft of the budget for FY 22-23. This was an opportunity for councillors' input and the ability to discuss and ask questions as it's developed and progress. On the 6th of April, the Tasmanian Audit Office visited. Mr Whitehead focused on the Auditor General's report recently tabled in Parliament, which was the report of the Auditor General number 5 of 2021-22, Auditor General's report on the financial statement of state entities, Volume 2, and the audit of the state entities and audited subsidiaries of the state entities at 31st of December 2020 and 30 June 2021. There's a link there. There's a presentation to Parliament, also a link. The Auditor General presented a performance audit summary. Next, on the same day, we had the aquatic services review. So a consultant from Leisure Management Excellence was engaged to review and determine the current and future provision of aquatics facilities, focusing on the Port Huon Sports Centre and the Huonville Swimming Pool. The review included engagement with the community, a technical inspection of pool facilities, plant and equipment. The draft report and an executive summary report have been completed and were discussed prior to formal endorsement by Council and its release to the community. On the 13th of April, we had a workshop on the Australia Day Awards. The Director of Community Services led a discussion on the review of our Australia Day Awards. We had some discussion on our communication, so the Director of Community Services and the Communications and Media team leader led a discussion around the promotion and sharing of council activities. On the same day, we also had discussion on the conflicts of interest policy, so the Director of Legal and Governance Services led a discussion regarding the draft management of conflicts of interest policy and the guidance document, and councillors were given an opportunity to provide feedback with the aim of being presented to the council meeting today. That was it.
Yeah, Councillor 13, Councillor questions, 13.1, questions taken on notice. There were 2 councillor questions taken on notice from the March 30th council meeting. Councillor Gibson's regarding the General Manager's ongoing employment, and Councillor Campbell's regarding inappropriate text messages and the possibility of council carrying out an investigation. Yep.
Yep. So I've responded to this question following the public meeting, and I refer ex-Councillor Gibson to my response in the minutes of the 23rd of February ordinary meeting, and I'll not be responding any further.
Thank you. Questions without notice. Do any councillors wish to ask a question tonight? Councillor O'May.
Yes, Mayor, I was just wondering if it's possible, yes, Mayor, I'm just wondering if it's possible at all that we can have some formal lights installed at the War Memorial Centre in Huonville that are actually encased in concrete. So from next year's dawn service, that they will be applicable and at providing sufficient lighting for a dawn service at 6 a.m. as normally scheduled. Thank you.
I think that we could take that one on notice, or unless through you we want to go to community services, but I think that one we'd have to look at. But thank you, Director.
Through you, Acting Mayor, I think that one will investigate further and bring back for a discussion at a workshop because it'll need a budget allocation. So we will investigate some options for there. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I do have a question, or it's a request actually, not the same as Councillor O'May, but I'd like to request that the Huon Valley Council's relevant department explore the opportunity to upgrade and enhance the Huonville roundabout to brighten up this centrepiece and make it a feature for the Huonville Township. My reasons for that are it's very untidy and grubby looking. I've had several members of the community ask if why can't we do something and have something in line with the lovely mural that's put over on the wall over there, something bright. And it's an opportunity for council to make this a feature of the town, and I just would like if you could take that on notice.
Yeah,
please.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I think we will take that one on notice. If I could ask through you, General Manager, through to the Director, the roundabout, is it ours to do or it is state growth? So we could go back, we could take it on notice and see whether we could ask about that?
Correct, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a state growth. It's part of the highway,
Yeah.
the whole main street.
Yep.
So we can take it on notice to investigate options with the Department of State Growth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, yes, Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question in regard to the questions on notice and questions not being read out. I understand that 25 questions would take a considerable amount of time to be read out, although I'm acutely aware there are probably some people that would like to hear some form of questions read out, and I was wondering if in future meetings, either where the questions without notice is significantly less, or if it'd be possible for yourself to read out maybe a couple questions chosen at random. Just
at random.
Yeah, I think just because it's probably, understandably not spending a long time reading out the questions, but it probably is nice for some people to hear that some of the questions do still get read out.
Yep.
But yeah, to you, Mayor.
I can take that on notice.
Thank you, Mayor.
That's fine. Thank you. Councillors online, do you have any questions without notice?
No, thanks, Mayor.
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. I don't either. 13.3, Councillor notices of motion.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I did discuss it with the legal before, and it is a notice of motion, which obviously is not, is probably needs to be withdrawn at this point in time because we've already acted on that, and I do thank the administration, once that I put that notice of motion forward with the Councillor Prince, that they acted on it immediately.
Lost sound again, Sandy.
Oh.
We did ask for a 60-day extension, and if that was granted, could we have immediately send a mail out? And the council staff have acted on that, and we've received a good response, and I want to thank them for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we now move on from 13.3. We don't have to do anything with that at all. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Can I comment on that, on Councillor Clark's comments there, or are we past that?
I'll let you.
Yeah, I would just want to say one thing in regards to Councillor Clark's comments there. I personally and many other people in the community are very much in a position of relief and would like to thank the council. I would like to for their endeavours in what you've proposed here, Councillor Clark, and the achievements that the council has been able to get across the line. So a lot of people felt under pressure, and I believe that this extension will go a long way to alleviate those concerns. That's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say that it was Lockie and his team that chased that down so vigorously?
Yes.
So
Sorry,
big thank
for
you
Lockie and his
to them.
team,
So
and all involved in the process. It's been a great achievement and a great outcome. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, Acting Mayor, can I just add to that, please? I did have here that I would like to congratulate the amount of work that the Director of Planning and his department have put into the project to date, and I know that it's been a huge resource that you've had to put into it, and under the circumstances and under the guidelines that you were given. So we thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We move on to agenda number 15.013/22, Management of Conflict of Interest Policy. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince, a seconder. Councillor O'May. Councillor Prince, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Through you, Mayor, just wanted to say that I'm glad this policy is finally being put at the table, and hopefully after tonight this policy will exist. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is there any councillors to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? As there's no councillors speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. And online we have...
For Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. Councillor appointments 15.014/22. Can I pass that over to the Director, please, through you, General Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. For councillors and members of the public, this was drafted as a skeleton report on the basis of nominations being called but not closed before the completion of the agenda. An addendum was issued today in relation to this matter. Following nominations and confirmation with councillors, 3 councillors nominated for the audit panel, being Councillor Prince, Councillor O'May, Councillor Lovell. 1 councillor nominated for the General Manager's Performance Review, Councillor Lovell, and 1 councillor nominated for the Arts and Culture Committee, which is Councillor Prince. On that basis, Councillors Lovell and Prince would be declared elected, but an election would occur in the audit panel. An alternative recommendation has been provided. However, I understand that one of the candidates does wish to withdraw the nomination.
Yes, that is through you, Mayor. Yes, I wish to withdraw my nomination from the audit panel.
On that basis, Acting Mayor, there would be no election required. The amended recommendation would be that A, the report on appointment of councillor representatives and members to various casual vacancies and committees be received and noted. B, the number of nominations having been received being equal to the number of vacancies, the council notes the election of the following as councillor member or representatives to the following bodies/committees. Body audit panel, councillor member, councillors Lovell and councillor O'May. General Manager's Performance Review Committee, member Councillor Lovell, and Huon Valley Arts and Culture Committee, member and chair Councillor Prince. That's the amended recommendation.
Okay, so I now ask for someone to, Yep. So do I have a mover to that recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
Councillor Clark. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Clark, do you wish to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to congratulate those councillors for putting their name forward.
Thank you. Do I have any councillors to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? As there's no councillors speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. And online we have Councillor...
Yes, Mayor.
Well, Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Thank you very much to those that put their hand up. Okay, agenda number 16.006/22, the financial report. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Have we missed something? We had Councillor Lovell to move the motion. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Councillor Lovell, do you wish to speak to the financial report?
No, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor to move to speak against? Is there a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Prince.
I suppose, Mayor, for the general public, but if we could be provided with a brief explanation over the new projected deficit of 1.2 million through you, Mayor.
Okay, through you, General Manager, if I could ask the Director. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So, obviously, at this time of the year, there's been a lot of sort of variances, favourable and unfavourable, but as I set out in the report here in sort of section 9, paragraph 9, we can really sort of pin down this year's deficit to a few major reasons. So the first one being we came into the year budgeting for a deficit. It was just $373,000, so a fraction under $400,000. Since then, we've approved some expenditure that didn't take place in previous financial years, so the operating reserves, that was a further additional $400,000. We've got the challenges taking place in medical services, so access to GPs and sort of having impacts on revenue, fee income, and also costs for locums. So medical services isn't performing financially how we would like. In addition to that, we've had the council decision to spend or take $450,000 out of cash reserves to go towards a strategic land use planning initiatives. So they're sort of the all unfavourable ones, and then sort of coming back the other way, we have had a bit of a win on the depreciation expense. So those five things are sort of the primary reasons for where we are.
Thank you.
Just one to the Director, owing to the deficit you have there underlined, because of the restraint that we showed in previous years in regards to COVID, is this more of a reflection of that restraint in income raising, do you believe, or is it more of a indication of these extra dot points that you've got
I think it's probably a combination. So going back 2 financial years, we did have the 0 rate increase. So that's sort of income foregone, which we don't ever sort of get back. It's permanently gone. But I think the primary reason is those reasons which I just sort of read out. We came in budgeting for a deficit, plus those decisions that have been made since then.
Thank you very much. That's a great answer.
Is that, you're right now? Yep. Anyone online? No questions? Okay. As there's no councillor speak against the motion, then I put the motion forward. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, O'May and Prince and Doyle. And online we have?
Yes, Mayor.
For Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Agenda item number 16.007/22, status report, outstanding rates debtors. I refer the councillors to the recommendation. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor O'May and a seconder. Councillor Prince. Councillor O'May, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, Mayor. It's all pretty straightforward to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'May. Is there a councillor that wishes to speak against the motion? Are there any questions? No. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's Councillor Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. And online?
Yes, Mayor.
For Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Agenda number 17.005/22, the 2022 Natural Resource Management Environment Grant Program Assessment Outcome. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'May. Councillor Prince, do you wish to speak to the motion?
And just to say congratulations to those putting their hand out for money to work on habitat restoration. Well done.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor to speak against the motion? Is there? Sorry. No. Are there any questions? No. I have, well, not so much as a question. Oh, yes, sorry. Councillor O'May, I missed your hand.
Yes, Mayor. My only question is regards to is there any foreseeable increase in expenditure to NRM in the future, owing to the fact that last year we, from my memory, withdrew the NRM for the year of the COVID and put it somewhere else, I think, didn't we? Amount of $2,000, was that correct? Or a portion of it there. So I was just wondering if in the foreseeable future whether we could, when things pick up a bit, if there's any possibility that we can increase the funding to some of these projects, as they are very important in the community.
We'll pass it over to the director. I think it was because it was unspent money, is it?
Yeah, that's correct, but that's what I'm just trying to say, is if we can
I believe
highlight that for future projects to be in the same area.
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe it was the grant program was deferred during COVID.
Yeah.
Obviously this year, as the report states at section 11, will be underspent. We didn't have enough grant applications in this case, so the 10,300 allocated won't be spent. So we would love more people to put their hand up to do this kind of important work around the valley.
Yeah, no, that's fine. And if there was any, if there's any other way that we can get some more money, especially into this gorse control and and other areas under NRM that really lack in funding that really should be prioritised higher in my view, Mayor. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, General Manager, to the Director, I believe there is some farmers that are speaking through the grants program through state government or through other areas to do with gauze. I know that there's one that I know of, so there is other avenues, but we just have to encourage other people to apply. The small groups, I mean, you look at the ones that are there, and their Signet Coast Care is looking at gauze, so no doubt they'll possibly have another grant in next time to do some more work on that. So, yeah,
that's absolutely, and the more encouragement we can give them from council, the better.
Yeah. So, yes, thanks, Director. Okay. Right. So, there's no councillor to speak against the motion. Are there any questions? No. Apart from that, no more. As there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. And that is Clark, O'May, Prince and Doyle. Online we have.
Yes, Mayor.
All, Mayor.
That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Agenda number 17.006/22. Climate Change Strategy Annual Report 2021. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Prince. A seconder? Councillor Clark? Councillor Prince. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of good work going in here towards climate change, and it is quite interesting to see all the different areas that are working, or to see where things aren't quite playing out as we might have hoped. Just to point one out that I think is particularly like a good result of this report, that the Huonville Childcare Centre has been identified as a suitable site for solar panels, and I think that's the sort of thing that these kind of reports can identify, and hopefully will have a cost reduced to the operation of council, which saves people money in the long run, as well as is beneficial for the environment. So, yeah, fantastic report and well done.
Thank you. Do we have anyone to speak against the motion? Are there any other questions? No. I just think, as far as I'm concerned, I know that the amount of work that's gone into this report, and I'd just like to pass on through the Director to his department that, yeah, job well done. And some of the issues there, like, as you say, Councillor Prince, the degassing of, appliances, and the things that we can do that aren't out of our control, that can make a difference. So I like to have things that are achievable. So well done on those things there. So. And the basic energy audits is another great one, so thank you very much. All right. Okay, so no other questions or statements. So as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour in the gallery, please raise your hand. And that's Councillor Clark, O'May and Prince, and online, and Doyle, and online we have...
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. That's all councillors present, and the motion is carried. It's that time again to advise that council is going into closed. Thank you to those people who joined our gallery this evening, and those of you who took the time to watch the meeting online this evening. The next meeting of the ordinary meeting of council is on Wednesday the 18th of May. Please make note that it's the 18th of May. That's it. So thank you. Thank you. Recommend as at pursuant to Regulation 15 of the Meeting Procedures Regulations to discuss the following matters: confirmation of closed minutes, general reports, closed council, disposal of assets, Chieftain electric vehicle fast charger. Do I have a councillor to move a motion to go into closed? Wow, all three. I'll go any meany, and I'll go Councillor Clark, and I'll go Councillor O'May as a seconder. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's Clark, O'May and Prince and Doyle. Thank you. Thank you. That's all, councillors.